Bookkeeping Made Simple here just south of Salt Lake City, Utah. And with me today is Craig Zaffe. Did I pronounce that right, Craig?
That's close enough.
Okay. As the owner of Hemp for Life. Craig, tell us a little bit about what you do.
All right, I'm in the. I wear a lot of different hats. I'm an organic landscaper by trade. I was the first organic landscaper in New York State. I started my business in 1973. And I've always been about education. And I've been a compassionate grower of cannabis since 1988 full time. I help a lot of family and friends with various medical conditions. And I always give them a nice bag full of 100% organic, you know, cannabis, help them deal with their conditions. And I'm also in the CBD business. I've been in the CBD space since 2016. Here we are close to 9 years later. I'm still in that space, and my present company is Hemp for Life Wellness, and we're doing business as OP6 CBD. We have a great sports cream,
Oh, it's awesome.
and my partner is Reggie Grant, who's a former Jet player, so we work with a lot of former athletes, helping them deal with their physical conditions, helping them get off, opiates and on to more plant-based medicine. So, uh,
That's awesome.
yeah, I'm
I
all
love
about it.
plant-based medicine.
So I was just did a radio interview for one of the local Long Island radio stations, and I do a lot of educational seminars, helping people take charge of their health. Because when you educate, to empower people, so they can make the right decisions when it comes to taking care of their health. Because we know that pharmaceuticals, the side effects go on forever, and sometimes they're worse than the actual condition. So, educating people to empower them to take charge of their own health, make the right decisions in their life so they can have a better quality of life and not end up in a lot of pain and on a lot of different pharmaceuticals, and they won't have that quality of life that we all want as we go through life.
Yeah. So, what kind of conditions have you seen people do well with using cannabis and CBD?
Well, basically, I mean, again, people don't realize, we have 12 body systems in our body. And the largest body system is known as the endocannabinoid system. So it's the largest regulatory system in our body, in charge of the homeostasis balance of internal health. So it's the traffic cop. So when the endocannabinoid system is running smoothly, you don't have much disease and inflammation. But as you get older, you become deficient, you become endocannabinoid deficient. And that's where pain and inflammation starts. So you have to turn to phytocannabinoids, which means that plants have natural cannabinoids. The two primary sources is CBD from hemp or THC from marijuana. I tell everybody that THC is not for everybody because not everybody wants to get stoned. The CBDs are. So basically, it can help with any type of pain, inflammation, diabetes, sleep problems, appetite problems, high blood pressure, rheumatoid arthritis, cancer. I mean, all conditions can be basically, if not healed, you can reduce your dependency on pharmaceuticals by incorporating cannabis in your lifestyle. And the cannabis is the most beneficial plant on the planet. There are over 25,000 uses. It's been used for the history of mankind. Every great civilization has used cannabis for food, fiber, clothing, making rope, making sails, medicine, spiritual growth. And our own country was founded on it. George Washington's first enactment, every colonist had to grow hemp to grow, pay for their taxes. Henry Ford ran his Model T on hemp oil. So, I mean, incorporating cannabis in your life, not only do you heal yourself, you heal the planet. And
Yeah.
everybody knows that we need a lot of healing, not only for ourselves, but for our planet, is not happy. I mean, we have, extreme weather conditions, and by planting hemp, we can help restore the planet quite a bit.
Now, there's a lot of people that think that there are risks associated with the use of cannabis. Have you seen any?
Well, I mean, you can abuse it. You have to be smart when you partake in cannabis. And people don't realize the higher percentage of THC, the higher your anxiety rates go up. So
Yeah.
everybody's geared to we want more and more powerful THC. But basically, People don't realize that, the higher the percentage, the higher anxiety rates go up. So you can end up, in the fetal position, thinking you're going to die, and you're not enjoying the experience. And CBD is a natural neutralizer for too much THC. It nudges the THC off the CB1 receptor in your brain to lower your anxieties. And we have to be smart. We can't be stoners. And if you're doing edibles, less is more.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to treat it like a loaded gun. Especially if you have children in your house, you have to put it away in a safe spot. You can't leave it out on the counter because the way they're doing the packaging, it looks like it's child friendly, but it's not. So we have to we have to operate smarter than we ever did before because it's 2026. We waited a long time to have it legalized, and we have to be smart and let the science speak for itself.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I've really been kind of sad to hear that there's been so little research done on the plant, largely because it has been Schedule 1. So I'm excited to see it move to Schedule 3.
Right. I mean, again, up to 1994, you couldn't get any funding to study cannabis.
Hmm.
Trying to prove it was a gateway drug. You could get hundreds of thousands of dollars and do a study saying that if you partake in cannabis, you're going to have a heroin addict. But after 1994, when Israeli scientist Raphael Michelin discovered that we have an endocannabinoid system, we have receptors in our body, you could start to get funding. So you have more medical doctors going into cannabis medicine now. So the funding is starting, and the fact that we reschedule, Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 is a start, but it's not enough. I mean, we still have, the federal banking laws against it. Credit card processing is still very difficult in the cannabis space. You still don't get the right deductions. You being an accountant, you would know that you still can't write off everything when you're in the cannabis field. But,
Now, once the rescheduling is complete, 280E will no longer come into effect. So we'll be able to take all of the deductions. That's part of the reason I'm so excited to see that it's being moved because 280E, the cancellation of deductions other than cost of goods sold, only applies to those drugs that are on Schedule 1.
right. Well, you have to be patient.
Yeah,
You're
it
in,
takes time.
if you're in this industry, you have to be part Chinese. So you have to be, extremely patient. Things don't happen overnight, and you got to
Yep.
when you work for yourself that every day there's going to be different complications. Now, I deal in New York with the Office of Cannabis Management. They just enacted a new form where you have to track from seed to sale, and you have to use a company metric out of Florida to get new labeling. So it makes it very difficult, being in the cannabis industry when all of a sudden you have more regulations. But,
Now, does that mean you have to be fully vertically integrated, or you just have to be able to track where the plant came from?
you have to track where the plant came from. Now,
Okay.
I signed up. I took you have to take a course to get certified, which I passed. It took me 4 times to pass it, but I passed it. And then they couldn't find my hemp license, so I had to reach out to the Office of Cannabis Management. And it turns out in the hemp business, you don't need to be part of that new tracking system. So that makes it a little bit easier for us on this side of the tracks in the hemp business compared to if we were in the marijuana business. But
Okay.
we're always dealing with new regulations and being compliant. You know, so you have to be on top of your game every day in this industry.
Okay, so you found anecdotally that this plant is good for pain, inflammation, cancer, anxiety, depression, other mental health issues. And the only side effect seems to be a possibility of some anxiety if you overdo it on the THC without having other cannabinoids to balance it out.
Right. And
Would that be correct?
that's correct. And also, some people have a condition where they get very nauseous and they throw up because they've been partaking too much cannabis, so they have to just cut back on their consumption.
That typically only happens with carts or dab rigs, is my understanding, if it's concentrated.
Well, I more so than ever because I don't know if you ever did concentrates. You're talking 90-95% THC, and one hit,
Hmm.
one hit, you're holding on to your seatbelt. And I used to dab quite a bit years ago, but I found that it affected my lungs quite a bit.
Uh-huh.
So I don't, at this point, I don't dab. I just, I smoke flower and my wife makes edibles. I got to be very cautious with the edibles also. Because, my wife calls me a lightweight compared to what she can handle. So, instead of having a whole cookie, I'll have a half a cookie,
Uh-huh.
and, the other day, I had a whole cookie and my wife asked me to take out the dog and I was struggling to get, my long johns on. All of a sudden, I was just hysterical laughing.
Oh my gosh.
I couldn't get my long johns on. So it took me three tries before I could really, pull it together and, not keep on laughing.
Uh-huh.
I was able to walk the dog, but it was hysterical. So again, you got to be cautious
Yeah.
and make
Yeah, you have to use some common sense. And I've noticed that it seems to be easier to use common sense with this plant than with some other medications,
oh, definitely.
or drugs, to be a little bit more
Yeah, I mean, I
self-serving
just,
about it.
when I was young, I started working at 13, so I always had money, and I started drinking at 13. And I certainly abused alcohol. I took, driver's ed drunk, which I don't recommend to anybody. But we always, you have one drink, you feel good. You have two drinks, you feel better. Then you three, and then you're getting louder and sloppier and stupid, and you're making stupid decisions. The same thing with other drugs. Certainly cocaine is the same thing else. I don't care how much coke you have, it's never enough.
Nope.
But I think,
I've never used it, but that's what I've heard.
oh yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody recommends heroin, but I think psychedelic mushrooms are coming back. And they have the scientific research now how psilocybin to be very beneficial. So I think again, you know, you have to be smart what you put in your body.
That's really what it comes down to. Um, I've told a few people that I do use cannabis, but I also told them before I started using it, I researched it and was really careful about what effects am I looking for? What is it I'm trying to treat?
Right.
And in my case, it was depression and anxiety that runs in my family, and I've struggled with it my whole life. And once I started using cannabis for it, it went away and or it resolved itself. And I tell people that all the time, that you have to know what it is that you're trying to treat so that you know when it's better, for one thing.
And what varieties to use because every variety has a different effect.
Everybody, yeah, reacts differently to different terpenes. And then I also joke that there was that stereotype that stoners are stupid. And I was like, yeah, you ask your average non smoker to convert from grams to ounces in their head.
Right.
And I doubt they can. Um, Everybody that I know that consumes cannabis at all are the tops in their fields. They're very, very good at what they do. And there's a few that are kind of the exceptions that prove the rule.
Well,
Um,
I think if people you say if you smoke cannabis, you're lazy. I think if you're lazy, you're lazy.
yeah, exactly. If you're lazy, you're still going to be lazy. If you're motivated,
If you're
it's not
motivated,
going to make you lazy.
you have to be out there, and you're smart. I wouldn't recommend smoking a joint or two before you have, a Zoom meeting, you know, or have a meeting, with other people. But I just find that, cannabis is meant to be shared. It's not just for yourself. It's always, I think you have a much better experience when you share it with somebody.
And that's probably the best argument against the addiction theory that I've heard. Um, most of the time, if you're drinking or consuming something that's addictive, you want it all to yourself. The first thing people do when they're consuming cannabis is say, "Here, you want some?
Yeah, I
Let
mean,
me share."
well, it's meant for being shared.
Yeah, exactly.
It's been shared for the history of mankind, you know. And there's a five-word mantra to cannabis, CBD especially. It will help you relax, helps you to sleep, helps with the appetite, helps with
Hmm.
negative thoughts, and is overall wellness protector. So in
Yeah.
any situation, the only side effect is a sense of wellness if used properly.
Yeah.
And you can help deal with the stress of life because every day we wake up, you turn on that news, it's just very stressful, the state of affairs of our planet and our country, that cannabis can help you just decompress
Hmm.
and catch your breath and realize that we're the lucky ones. We all woke up, we remember our names, we got people who we love and who love us, and that's our wealth, is the
Yeah.
people around us. And cannabis goes hand in hand with that.
So, what particular challenges have you had in your business as you're trying to grow?
Well, raising funds. I mean, I'm competing against multi-million-dollar companies, and
Hmm.
we're in the process of, hopefully this week we'll be launching Refunders, which is a platform where people can invest in your company. So not having huge sums of money makes it very difficult to operate in this space.
Yeah.
But I just find that every day I get out there, I have a conversation and do more educational seminars. I'm doing more podcasts. A couple of times a week, I'm on different podcasts. I'm on radio stations. I've been written up in magazines, get the word out. And I just know that at some point things are all going to come together, and I can basically get a paycheck from
Yeah.
it. But I'm in for the long term. I'm only 75 years old. You know, I keep on moving forward. Every day I make another connection. I get another dispensary. I have another conversation, and we'll get there at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. Slow and steady really does win the race. A lot of the companies that I see come in with a lot of money behind them, they kind of flame out pretty quick
Right. I think
if they haven't built that foundation previously.
yeah, well, I mean, your foundation is a relationship that you have with your customers, your clients.
Yeah.
And I go for the long term. I mean, years ago, when I didn't have credit card processing, I would take orders. I said, listen, I'm going to send you the product. When you get the product, you send me a check.
Hmm.
You're crazy. Why would you trust people? I said, well, first of all, I'm a landscaper by trade. I've always did the work, waited to get paid. So it was just part of my natural makeup to wait for money. But you build that relationship because you're trusting people.
Yeah.
And once you build that trust, people would rather have a relationship with you than somebody else. Because a lot of companies, it's all about the sales. They don't want to spend the extra time to educate people, which I spend the extra time. I send everybody to projectcbd.org, which is a non-for-profit scientific organization dedicated to educating people about cannabis. So what ailment you bring up, they'll show you a scientific paper on that ailment, how either CBD or THC can help. So again, it's taking the time to educate people so they make the right decisions, and then they feel they can trust you because it's important to build that trust, and then you become a resource for them, even bigger than just CBD or cannabis. They have other health problems, they can reach out to you, and you have that conversation to help them along because we're all in it together.
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned appetite control, and GLP-1 and 2 agonists are, top of the news. Um, I found that there's cannabinoids that specifically depress the appetite, and there's cannabinoids, or at least terpenes, that increase the appetite. So you can design your sessions to do whatever you want to do to if you are obese, you just have to choose strains that are high in THCV. If you are, too thin, or you're having a hard time keeping food down, for example, cancer patients or AIDS patients back in the day, then cannabis will help you improve your appetite.
Right. I mean, CB1 receptor is a reward receptor. So when you eat a lot of processed sugar food, you're constantly looking to get that reward again. Your CBD can just retweak the CB1 receptor, so you only eat when you're hungry,
Mm-hmm.
just for the sake of eating, because everything is oversized nowadays, and everything has too much sugar in it. And the state of affairs is everybody's 30, 40 pounds overweight, diabetic, high blood pressure, and everything else. So again, that's where the education comes in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What's really been effective for me is to kind of time dinner to go with the munchies.
Right,
So then I have a healthy meal. I'm not raiding the fridge like a rabid raccoon trying to find something sweet.
right.
I've already kind of planned it in, and that helps me personally manage my weight. Now, someone else might not have the same um, outcome because we're all different, but it's been a godsend for me.
Yeah, again, just making the right decisions in your life.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
staying,
a little bit of planning ahead goes a long way because
well,
it's not like alcohol intoxication. You can actually think things through.
and again, staying healthy is a full time job. You have to invest in your health.
Absolutely. Once you lose your health, you've lost everything.
Yeah, that's your wealth. We all need money in the bank, but if
Hmm.
you don't have your health, you're bankrupt. So again, I tell people first to get off that couch and move the body.
Absolutely.
Put down your headset, put down the phone, go for a walk.
Yeah,
Not everybody wants to join the gym, but move the body. Stay uncomfortable.
absolutely.
Just listen to your own brain and what we eat. There's a correlation between the health of your gut and the health of your brain. So you have to
Hmm.
thought what you put in your body.
Right.
You stay away from all the processed food. The lunch meats, McDonald's, all the sodas, the energy drinks, and then you should take various supplements also.
Yeah.
And also, you want to take a walk in the wild, so start incorporating CBD in your life. And the end
Yeah.
result is, no matter what age you are, you're going to have the quality of life where you can just, enjoy your life. And I tell a lot of people, your goal is to be able to dance at your grandchildren's wedding. That should be your goal in life, that,
Hmm.
you can dance at your grandkids' wedding. So, unfortunately, heaven's way too busy. Every time you turn around, someone else crossed over. So
Yeah.
I tell people take your time, invest in your health, get educated, make the right decisions. So no matter what age you are, you're going to enjoy your life.
If you're above the ground, it's not too late. Enjoy your life.
Every day is a blessing.
Yeah,
Every
absolutely.
day is a gift. Today's the only day we have. What happened yesterday doesn't matter. The future's not here yet. Today's your heaven and hell.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
one,
And you get to choose.
yeah. We
Even if even if you're going through a hard time, you get to choose how you perceive it.
right. We chose to have a conversation.
Exactly.
How
And we're
beautiful,
having a great time.
and how beautiful is that? We made that choice. He says, I don't want
Hmm.
anybody. I'm in a bad mood. One conversation can change your life. One person can just plant that seed of joy in your life.
Absolutely.
So it's important to, again, just be thankful for what we have, because our worst day is someone else's nightmare.
You know, I always say that my track record of getting through bad days is 100%.
Right.
That's a pretty good record.
Yeah, and
So,
plus, listen, when you work for yourself, every day you're waking up to another, headache. Yeah,
well, they're different headaches than the ones I had in corporate America, and I like these headaches better.
yeah. I've been working since I'm 13. I'm 75. I work for a lot of different people, but self-employed since 1973.
Hmm.
Always been, in charge of my life. I made some bad decisions, but I wouldn't change anything, because
Yeah.
everything has been brought me to this point in time. You know, I wake up with a smile. I go to bed with a smile. I leave people happy.
Hmm.
And everyone has value.
Absolutely.
So, and being in the cannabis space, most people are wonderful, all working for the same cause. Just trying to help people out. You know,
Well, I have to say, I think most people are wonderful. And the ones that aren't are kind of the exception that proves the rule.
right?
Um, they are the ones that I usually just go, they must be having a really bad day or even a really bad year, but it's not anything to do with me.
Right. Well, you can't take it personal. Some people
No,
are just miserable,
no.
you know. And being in the cannabis space, you know, I do a lot of educational seminars and I go to a lot of dispensaries. I said, you're in the wellness business. You're not about just getting
Mhm.
product. You have to, you know, learn, you know, when someone comes in, you know, to help them with your knowledge to, you know, get the right varieties, or, you know, you see someone who's limping, you say, hey, you know, I got a great, you know, CBD sports cream that could really help with your arthritis.
Yeah.
You know, again, it's just educating everybody that we're in the wellness business, and what better gift to help somebody get well again.
At least improve the quality of their life while they're here.
Right.
So yeah, I've had friends that have parents in hospice, and they said that dosing them with cannabis, either CBD or full spectrum, has just improved the remainder of their parents' lives
Right.
dramatically. So, um, and it's not addictive. So what do you have to lose?
Especially at that point of your life,
Yeah,
you know, when you only have, you know, a few more days left on the planet, you can cross over with a smile on your face.
well, even whether it's a few days or a few years, and some people are in hospice for a long time. Um, yeah, I just, the more I can improve people's lives, the better off we all are.
Because we all listen. What better gift someone can tell you? I used to have a mother, you know, I used to do a lot of autistic children, and the mother would say to me, you know, I can't thank you enough. It's the first time I ever heard my child speak, you know. Or someone said,
Hmm.
you know, I was suicidal, I had MS. I started using your products, and all of a sudden, you know, I find joy in life again.
That's awesome. That's the best testimonial ever.
Right. So, I mean, you know, you can't put a price to that.
Nope.
And that gives you more motivation to keep on moving forward and help more people in your life. And I mean, we're all in it together.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So being
I
in,
think people lose track of that. They kind of get into these tribes of us against them, and really it's us against the problem.
yeah, I mean, listen, if you do a genetic test, we're all brothers and sisters.
Hmm.
We all came from the same mother in Africa,
Yeah,
you know, and if we just learn that we're all the same, we all want the same things in life. You know, if you cut us, we all bleed.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
I mean, it's a tragedy what's going on in our country with the politics and everything else. But, you know, we have to realize that we're all in it together. And we shouldn't be, you know, the mentality of us against them. And I think cannabis brings us all together. I think if everybody just sat down and smoked a joint together, you know, to find out, hey,
That was one of my favorite moments in Snoop Dogg's documentary, The Grass is Greener, when he said, you know, you get a bunch of guys that hate each other, you put a bottle of whiskey in the middle of the room, you're going to have a fight.
of course,
You get the same guys that hate each other, put a bag of weed in the middle of the room, and they're going to be best friends in an hour.
exactly. You know, we'll get the munchies together. Next thing you know,
Yeah, they're going to devour a few pizzas and a whole bag of a whole bunch of Cheetos, but they will be friends.
yeah. I mean, listen, and you can't put a price to having friends in there.
No, no.
And so I think being in this space is wonderful. You know, that you meet such incredible people around the world, all
Oh,
with
100%,
you know,
100%.
literally the same course. You know, it's just we all realize that you know this plant is part of our DNA.
It really is. And I'm always kind of surprised at the people that just insist on finding what they think are bad side effects. And I'm like, well, number one, they bring up schizophrenia a lot. And I said, well, number one, does cannabis trigger schizophrenia, or do pre-schizophrenic patients use cannabis in an attempt to self-medicate?
Right.
You know, we don't know. Um, we don't know which order that comes in. I suspect it's the second one, because I've watched a lot of friends with mental issues that they didn't know that they had or they didn't know how to deal with medicate with cannabis and be able to function.
And
Um,
that's where the education comes in, because like
Absolutely.
saying the right variety, and start
Hmm.
slow, and you'll find that balance where you'll get relief. You know,
Yeah.
if you're
Yeah.
going to the strongest, you're going to be in trouble, because that's just going to increase your anxieties and bring out more of your symptoms of schizophrenia, that you think the whole world is against you. So I think
Yeah.
again, that's where the education comes in, and I think it's important anyone in this space spend the time to educate people.
Oh, the people that I trust the most in this space are the ones that have taken the time. Because I am one of those that I like to research anything that I'm putting into my body. And if I don't feel like it's a good fit for me, then I won't take it, regardless of external pressure. Um, and so I've talked to so many wonderful people in this space that are so generous with their time and their talents and sometimes even their products. I've had products show up at my door surprised, um, so that I would have a chance to sample them. And it's just been, I haven't seen another niche like this where the people are so generous.
Well, I mean, it comes back to tenfold,
Hmm.
you know. So it's important. Again, it's wonderful being in this space.
Yeah.
You know, meeting people like yourself, having a conversation. You know that it's a win-win situation, because you don't know, one conversation can change your life. There could be one person listening to our podcast right now,
Hmm.
with a light bulb goes off, and they'll reach out to you, and it can change everything.
Exactly. Exactly.
So it's all good. I mean, you know.
So, how can people reach you?
Well, they can go to my website, open6cbd.com.
Okay.
Get to my website. I mean, certainly you want to have a phone call. My cell number is 631-697-0296. I'm always available for conversation. I'm always available to have, educational seminar with somebody. It doesn't have to be a dispensary. It doesn't have to be, anything. It can be just one person just having that conversation. So, I think
Yeah.
I think it's very important that you take time to have those conversations with people, because life is moving by so quick. People get
Hmm.
distracted. So I think taking the time to connect with people, have that conversation, will make a world of difference in people's lives. If we all did that, it'd be a better place to call home.
Absolutely. I'm all about the conversation. We may differ on how to solve problems, but if we can agree on what the problems are, we can always come together.
Well, you can always agree to disagree.
Or we can agree to disagree, and that's fine too. It seems like people don't do that anymore.
But people don't know how they don't know how to have a conversation. Everybody's so
Yeah.
locked on their phone, social media. But no one knows how to have a conversation. To me, nothing's more beautiful than have a conversation.
Yeah. I've had lots of people on this show that I just didn't agree with, and that's okay. That it also gave me a different perspective, and I wish people would do that more. It's why I like spending time with my kids and grandkids. They're young. I've forgotten what it was like to be young in a lot of ways. So I get a different perspective from them than I do hanging around people my own age.
Well,
And I love that.
well, I like hanging out with anybody from 20 to 100.
Yeah.
I always find it's very rewarding when I'm talking to young people in their 20s, and they have old
Hmm.
values. I say,
Hmm.
how refreshing it is that at such a young age, you were taught to respect your parents, your grandparents, and you have old school values, instead of being, a typical young person out there that, you know, don't know how to have a conversation. They're always on their phone. It's all about them, what they can get. I always say, how can I help you? you know. So
Yeah,
it's refreshing when you meet, people of all different ages, all ethnic backgrounds. We all have value.
exactly. And almost everybody, I have an ex-husband that I will exclude from this because he's earned it, but um, almost everybody has a viewpoint that I haven't heard. There's something I can learn from them. So I always appreciate having these conversations. So,
I mean, that's our wealth. Otherwise, it's a very lonely life out there.
right? Right? I don't know what I would do if I couldn't read and I couldn't talk to people.
Yeah, I mean, I look forward to being off the couch and in the room having that conversation. Sometimes I have to dig deep because
Hmm.
the cannabis world starts at night, and
Uh-huh.
I'm up at 5 in the morning. The
Uh-huh.
sun goes down, I'm in bed, and all of a sudden, I'm in Manhattan. It's 12, 1 o'clock at night. And I'm saying, oh God, I got to really dig deep to stay up. You know,
Hmm.
but you have to be out there.
Yes, yes, you do.
So yeah, it's been an incredible journey. You know, and I'm happy to be at this point in time.
That's awesome. We are so happy that you came on the podcast today. Thank you for being on. I'll put your contact information in the show notes so people can reach you if they have any questions. You guys, hemp is and cannabis, one of the best plants in the world for you.
Yeah, we
Um,
definitely
if we could get people to eat kale, surely we can get people to use CBD.
right. Well, kale is great for you. I think kale is very beneficial. But yeah, and if you send me your address, I'll send you some samples to try.
I will do that. Thank you so much, Craig. Thanks for being on the show.
Well, I appreciate you having me on the show, and just keep on doing what you're doing because I think we all have a very bright future.
I agree. Thanks so much.
You have a wonderful day.
You too.